the Legal Corner podcast series. Welcome to today's episode of The Legal Corner, a podcast which covers a variety of legal issues to keep you informed. Hosted by attorney-at-law Colin Dinoon and communications specialist Leonardo Torres.
Thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Legal Corner podcast series. In today's episode, we are going to be looking at the Sal Tarrae Foundation, and our distinguished guest today is Mr. Jermel Dwight Pierre. So just to tell you a bit about Mr. Pierre, he's an international trade specialist by training, and he holds a master's in international trade policy from the University of the West Indies, Keyville campus, a BSc in political science with law from UWI Keyville, and a diploma in governance and public innovation from CAF Bank of Latin America and UWI. Right? Over the years, he has created a wealth of knowledge in the field of international trade, business development, market research, and political strategy. Right? He would have worked for some time in Barbados, where he was instrumental in dealing with trade matters, such as the interpretation and application of trade agreements. He also has extensive experience with NGOs and political organizations. He's the co-founder of A Squared Consulting Services, where he works as the lead international trade and market research specialist. He has a passion for community service and philanthropy, and upon return to Trinidad in 2019, he founded the Sal Tarrae Sustainable Development Foundation, right, focused on advancing the needs of the tenants of the Sustainable Development Goals and assisting needy persons, especially in rural and underserved communities. Now, Mr. Pierre hails from the community of Labre, and he always wears that badge very proudly. For those of you who do not know, Labre is in the southwest region of Trinidad and Tobago. I would say Labre is that town that you find just after Rosilac, right? Yes, generally speaking, just after Rosilac. I mean, we could get into these semantics of it. But Jermel, welcome to Legal Corner podcast series, and how are you doing today?
Hi, Colin. I am doing quite fine, and thanks very much for the invitation. Thanks for having me.
Right. Lovely. Jermel, we're going to get straight into it. Tell us what led to the creation of the Sal Tarrae Foundation.
Okay, so Colin, I can give you a short response and a bit longer response. That may seem a little bit anecdotal, but I think it's important that what really sowed the seed for me to start this conversation began long years before the foundation was actually established. I think a lot of it had to do with my very own upbringing and my own challenges in life, that so much so that I have always, due to that my life's experience, always searched for ways and matter and means in which that I can help other generations to experience the positive experience that I have and overcome the challenges that I would have. I knew what it is to grow up in a single parent household. I'm the fourth of 6 children to a single parent, and for a large part of my life, from fourth form, I actually grew up in a sibling household because my mom would have migrated to the UK, and then it was just my siblings and I, so I had a lot of responsibilities at them. And I say all of this to say that even throughout my experience in university, we attended Keyville together, I've always find ways to get involved and be involved and to, because that is something that I think worked for me, and I think it can work for a lot of other generations. Keeping occupied, find ways in which you can positively impact the environment that you are in. And so during my experience in UWI, Keyville, and after doing my master's, where we had the opportunity to go to Geneva and experience how small the world really is. When I came back, I reached out. I knew to myself that I didn't want to be in Trinidad and just fall into empty spaces. I wanted to contribute. And so I was having a conversation with my good friend at the time, who is now my wife. And it's like, yo, I really want to establish this foundation. And it has to do with assisting persons in need and assisting rural communities, persons that don't normally get access to all the niceties of this world. Because I remember my mom's experience and I remember my own learned experience. And I said to myself, if we have persons that could bring these experiences, show persons and assist persons to develop and grow sustainably, maybe a lot more of persons like myself can come out, because growing up in Labrie and in rural communities, you look around and there could be a lot more positive examples that and a lot more assistance and spearheading and really technical assistance given to families and women and children. And the SDGs is very important, but just as I say with regional integration means nothing if the regular man in CARICOM, for example, doesn't understand and feel what regional integration is. And so the Sustainable Development Goals means nothing if the regular man doesn't understand, feels, and practice sustainability.
Thank you very much for that great response. I want you to just tell us now what is meant by Sal Tarrae. What is meant by the word Sal Tarrae?
Oh, so Sal Tarrae actually means salt of the earth, right?
Okay.
It is Latin for salt of the earth.
I know you were getting into the Sustainable Development Goals. So tell us what is so important, or what is the importance of the UN SDGs?
So the UN SDGs is actually extremely important. It's more or less like a guide to ensure that whilst we enjoy the things that this world has to offer, that we do so responsibly in a manner that preserves the environment and all that preserves and enables life on Earth for future generations to come. And so the UN SDG is important to ensuring that future generations enjoy all of the things of this earth, of the world, even when we leave this space. And it should not, their livelihood should not be hampered by what we do now. We have been involved in a number of projects stemming from environmental projects, such as a number of collaborations on ocean coastal projects, where we go and we ensure that the coast is clean. Also, what we have also done some work where we have built out some coastal protection utilizing used tires. So that's one aspect. We also get involved in rendering assistance with some of the schools in building out their own school gardens. Really just driving home the importance of food security to the future generation. So we've done that. We have our annual back to school drive and grooming day, where we go into communities. Last year we went into Erin Village and we rendered assistance to over 50 students who would have gotten, in collaboration with some of our community barbers and hairdressers, we would have given them some free grooming as well as back to school supplies, where we would have supplied students with items for their book lists. We also usually engage in assisting less fortunate families with supplies for clothing. We assist them with food supplies. And during our Christmas drive, we also have our Christmas extravaganza that has a multi-tier, where we assist family with much needed supplies during that period, as well as give the kids a good fun time. Last year, we held our anti-crime march and Funday, and really just to highlight the plight of the crime situation. And that was on International Peace Day, where we had the Minister of National Security also participated in that. But also following that, we had a number of conversations with deportees and past reformed, I don't want to say criminals, but and really just understand some of the challenges why we have some repeat offenders and whatnot. Because we were speaking to a group of deportees, and one of them said to me, "We can't even get jobs. When we come back here, they frown upon us, even though we're certified, because we did what we had to do to get skilled," and those were some of the challenges. We also have our Future and Me initiative, where we introduce kids to STEM, robotics. We actually take them out to field trips where we take them to the Caroni Swamp, where they get a first-hand feel of the importance of preserving these environmentally sensitive biodiversities, as well as collaborated with NIHUS, who would have done a lot of the STEM work with the kids as well, and as well as exposing kids that are not usually exposed to some style of leadership. I think we would have brought in guests and whatnot to deal with these kids. So there's a number of projects that we have undertaken, and there's a list of projects that we are yet to implement and are in the works.
Great. At this point, we'll take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Jermel, before the break, I know we were just having a conversation about some of the projects that you would have already done through your NGO. I want you to tell us now about some of your upcoming projects. What do you all have in the works?
Okay, so what we have in our works, last year we started a project where we collaborated with Labitco, and Labitco had identified some acreage of land in their industrial estate which is not feasible for industrial purpose, and they wanted to do some works where they can capture carbon and whatnot. Basically, so they identify, and they were planting a lot of trees, and it's called Plant for a Purpose. So phase 1 of that was last year. They've indicated that they would be beginning phase 2 again, where we not just plant trees, but also fruit trees that could actually be of use. So that is something that we tend to gather a lot of volunteers and to participate and get involved in, as well as we have our Future and Me initiative again in the summer. We have our annual back to school drive. We have a fundraising event in the in-store, as well as we are in the process of establishing our own headquarters, our own space. And that space, there's some works that is ongoing with the property owners and stuff, and hopefully that by September we would have our own space to function and operate, as well as to offer extended amount of services such as training programs, as well as academic support programs, these sort of things to the community. So we've also established a committee because some of our members who would be undertaking some work in the area of period poverty. So they would be taking a lead on that and going into not just the schools, but as well as some of the much needed community, because um, access to these things is apparently very expensive. And if you are not someone that is um,
Okay.
that has the economic will, then it's a struggle. So all of these are some of the plans that we have. We would have our run for the goals September, somewhere there about. So we have a full calendar, and as in addition to our usual voluntary community work that we do. Um, we also intend to launch a small um, scholarship program starting in one of the primary schools. This is really just to aid with a student that we felt that we wanted to start to assist persons who in need, but also performing very well academically. It's for a student that would have overcome considerable challenges. So that is one of it. And then we have our usual staples on our calendar that it has already been so big that we can't really move it. Yeah. We will also be going back into the Guayagari community to do some additional project, because whilst we are from the Lobby community, the foundation, I am from Lobby community, the foundation spans and goal is really to reach rural and underserved communities. And so the idea is that one of the most important goal actually that I like, and that everybody would talk about all the niceties of in poverty and whatever, but I believe that SDG 17, which is the partnership for the goals, is very important, because until and when we understand the power of the collective, then and only then I believe we would be able to truly impact and really garner the speed and the progress that we need. Because reaching out and partnering with other local organizations is something that we do with open arms.
Right. So we're going to switch gears now, and we're going to talk about leadership. What challenges have you faced in running this NGO? Running the Sal Tarrae Foundation.
There has been a number of challenges, chief of which is that, and I was saying to you on the break, resources is not as easy to come by. Sometimes you really, as a NGO, and at the stage at which we are, we're predominantly dealing with a lot of persons that are volunteering their time. I'm volunteering my time. Everybody on the committee, everybody who are part of they are volunteering their time, and so and a lot of the work that goes into to garnering a lot of the resources takes time, and takes the corporate entities could get involved a lot more. And sometimes what you find is that local civil society organizations are better able to actually get into the nooks and crevice of the communities and reach the persons that are in need better than a lot of organizations who sometimes you would see some organization do work, and it's sometimes when you actually go into the community, it haven't actually reached the communities or the personnel that really needs to be touched. And so you ask the question of impact and measuring those impact. And so some of the organizations like Sal Tarrae, whose members and volunteers makes up of really just ordinary persons from some of these said communities. Colin, and this is something that I really admired last year when we had our back to school drive and grooming day. I had persons from some of the poorest areas in our community who say they want to be a part of this. You understand? They don't have anything. But you know what they came with?
Right.
And my pause is really raising as I speak about it. They came with their talent. And so many of them respond and say, hey, I can comb here. I can cut here. I can do some haircuts. I can assist in wherever. And they were the ones that really drove and made this thing so successful. And you go to persons that you think have the means and would be, and it was really the ordinary persons, galloping and coming and saying, hey, let me get this thing done. And I am so grateful for that. But there's so much that could be done to make a lot of our efforts more sustainable. And it means investments from corporate society, from some government entities, and so forth. And that's a lot of the challenge that we've really had. We now, I would say, and I suspect that there's a lot of challenge for other community groups, because from where I sit, I can still say that as an organization, we still have a number of persons that are part of it that has the capacity to undertake some of the strenuous requirements that is required to get some government funding through some grants and whatnot. And the amount of time that it takes, I know for a fact that there's a lot of community and civil society organizations that are trying and are doing great work with the resources that they have, but they can't seem to access much needed resources. And these are the persons and the groups that needs those resources because they're doing really good work. And so therein lies a major challenge, because the impact could be so much more if we can access a lot more help. Sometimes the need from the community is really demonstrated by the number of persons that comes out to some of our outreach events. For example, for the Christmas, we had everything planned. And we did some online registration for persons, and we did some on-the-day registration. And Colin, we had a system in place to assist 400 families. And we did not have enough. We were so overwhelmed on the day that we didn't even have enough volunteers on the day. It seemed so burdensome. But we get it done nonetheless.
That's excellent, Jermel. As we get ready to go, tell us, how can persons get involved with your organization?
Oh, yes. So persons can get involved. We do, if you go to any of our social media page, we are on LinkedIn as Sal Tarrae Sustainable Development Foundation, and IG as Sal Tarrae SDF, and on Facebook as the Sal Tarrae Sustainable Development Foundation. If you go onto our page, we do have pinned registration requirement where you can either just click on your registration link and register as a volunteer. We will send you an email. You can join the group from there, indicating to us what are your areas of interest, what are your skill sets and whatnot, so that we find the right things for you to get involved in and place you into the right subgroups and whatnot that the organization have. And if you don't have the time and you might feel the need to contribute in kind or financially, you can do so. You can message the organization. We'll send you your bank account details. We can send you how you can donate, whether it is clothing item, any sort of things to assist families. If you want to assist with any of our drives, and you want to donate some school supplies, and you want to donate some food supplies as well, you can also do that. Just message the organization, contact us, and we will facilitate and help to get these items to families that are in need.
Good, Jermel, this has been a great conversation. Thank you very much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me, Colin. And nice to see you.
Thank you for listening to the Legal Corner podcast series. For more information, please visit us at our Facebook or Instagram pages, or send your comments to thelegalcornerpodcast@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you.